Hey guys, what is up? Got a new video here, excited about. It's Friday and got a couple of NewBeeDrones here. We're going to go through configuration and setup. These are brushed versions. We have the Pro, the AcroBee BeeBrain Pro, and the Mockingbird edition. It's based on the BeeBrain Lite board, Mockingbird setup. So we're going to set up both of these with Project Mockingbird rates and settings and show you how I get them set up, tuned, and everything on my radio, my OSD, all my configuration in Betaflight. Let's give it a shot, get it all set up, because they do come nicely configured with Betaflight target. Anybody knows about Project Mockingbird, they make custom Betaflight targets based on whatever whoop they make them for Mobulas and a number of different whoops. But we're working on NewBeeDrone, and these are great quads. So let's get to it here. We'll get on the bench and get started. This is the data room here, and been a lot of work going on lately. But here we go. Here is the Pro version. I have some different props on there because I swapped them out and just put what I had. But that's the Pro. And that one is the one I raced at the Beer Stein. You might see in my videos here recently. Made third place at the Beer Stein in Eugene, Oregon. There was 23, 24 pilots or so. And for that placing, big thank you to Quadfellas and Jesse. So Daryl, Jesse at Quadfellas, Daryl and Jesse. That was my prize. So the Mockingbird edition of the BeeBrain Lite. So we're going to get that set up here today too. Has 4 blade props on there. I believe those are Azure. The Pro and the Mockingbird. Let's give it a shot. They fly so nice. A lot of people may ask or saying why still brushed. There's still a good purpose for these. They still work very well. They race and fly fantastic indoors. A lot of battery life, and NewBeeDrone has made some big improvements on the brushed motors too. They're quite amazing, and the batteries. So they are a fun little, and Acro outdoor too. You can fly outdoor, but they're a little more susceptible to wind as opposed to, say, the brushless models. So very fun though, very fun. Very controllable indoor. I almost find them a little more stable and controllable because they're not quite so wild. Brushless have a lot of power, a lot of fun, but a little bit more to keep under control indoors. So, we need some batteries here. One quick note, something to think about, is that the Pro will power up under just your USB. The Mockingbird edition, it's the BeeBrain Lite board. You need a LiPo powered in along with your USB. So let's give a quick look. I'll show you the Pro, how I have it set up and configured. Because it comes, most everything is set up, but there's a few settings that you do need to get right. I'll show you my radio setup. So before I plug in too, and I don't think you need any more, and I believe it's set up as an 8-channel is what you want to stick with. So I just use 4 auxiliaries. I just have an auxiliary 1 set up as my arm switch. It's actually the D switch. That's my arm in the bottom position. Aux 2 would be the A switch on the left. That'll be my modes, 3-way switch. And aux 3 and 4 are things I'm playing with. Aux 3 I think I have set as maybe a launch control, and aux 4 is my turtle mode. The Pro, that's the one difference too. The Pro active brushed version has a turtle mode, flip over after crash. Mockingbird version, that board does not support that, so that's a Pro only feature. Very cool. These little battery testers are nice too. I know these are not full, yeah, $3.99. But we don't need a bat. Let's plug in the Pro first. So I got my radio set up. Let's fire up to the Pro. Binding was really simple. I'll show you on the little guy. There's a boot boot button is the same thing as your bind button on these. You have a boot pin, a boot button right in there. Right in the back. I don't know how well you can see that there, but it's right down in there. There's a boot pin, and that is also your bind button. And it's a really simple bind procedure. So you just power it up with your LiPo, and then touch that bind button for a few seconds, and you'll see the bind light indicator flash, and that's when you bind with your radio, and you should be bound up. So it'd be as easy as that. So we're on the BeeBrain Pro model. Let's get plugged in here. So I have that set up. That one fires up on USB. Let's get give you another video on how I set up my telemetry screens. So Betaflight. So ports, it comes with UART port 1 is activated for data. Not much there, so not much to worry about there. You'll see it has it came with I received the Pro in very beginning of the year, and it had Betaflight 410 on it with the BeeBrain Pro FR Sky target. And that's something to mention too. Don't flash using the pull down. Go to Project Mockingbird's website or NewBeeDrone's website and get your targets directly from there. So, but as I mentioned that too, I have not flashed this. It came with 410, and 410 is great, so that's just where I've kept it and tuned from there. These are all standard. The Pro did not come with motor direction reversed. I will do that. I'll swap them around. The Project Mockingbird version came with pops out, so it came that way. Probably do that with the Pro, but I just haven't yet. I want to show you right out of the box. I have not changed any of the settings here. You should be on the PWM frequency, brushed. I put it on 4.4 with accelerometer. It came with 8.8, but I put it 4.4. I just like where everything runs better on that. That's debatable. 180 arming. That's so when you have if you're in flying in angle mode, you can still arm upside down, and that's more. You can use turtle mode and things like that too. Plus, if you get snagged in a tree or something, you could use it you could still arm and try to knock it out. For your FPV camera angle mix, that's for the FPV mix if you choose to use that. I don't. Mix is your yaw with your roll when you turn. It's a nice feature. I've heard great things about it. You want that setting to be half of what your camera angle is, according to NewBeeDrone or Project Mockingbird. These come at 24 degrees, I guess. So they had put that in there 12. So I haven't changed it. It's your FR Sky D receiver protocol. I didn't change anything in here. You don't want air mode active if you're going to use angle mode. Do not use air mode in Acro, not in angle mode. So you don't have it permanently enabled. You can enable it via your switches. Power, the warning cell voltage on mine came with, it was very, very low, like this 0.28, so it was never warning me. I put it up to between 3.5 and 3.6 for your lithium high volt batteries. That's where I like it to warn me. I may not necessarily land right then when it warns, when it starts warning at 3.6, but I know that I'm getting down there right there. So I like that. I think I might have that one at 3.5 and this one at 3.6, something like that. And I bumped capacity up to 300 because I'm using the 300 mAh gold packs. Fail safe, I do the standard hold throttle, and I put the guard time for stage 2 to 10 milliseconds. I got that from Bardwell. Shout out to Bardwell. That's pretty standard on all my quads. That's just so if you lose radio contact, complete radio RX loss, it'll hold throttle and everything that you have set to hold for that 10 milliseconds, anticipating you're going to reconnect, you're going to regain your signal. After that time, it'll drop. Okay, so the good stuff. Here we go, the good stuff. PID tuning. The way I like to do it is, most of my flying and my racing on these are in angle mode, indoor, but as far as PIDs go, I tune in Acro, because that's where you find where you need things like your yaw. And let's reference too, before I go any further, Project Mockingbird. Let's go to our BeeBrain section. And that's where, just search Project Mockingbird on Google, it'll come up at .squarespace.com. Great read. Look under the NewBeeDrone if that's what you're using. And just look up read about the little history and the overview. It's an interesting read on why they did this, where they came to where they got where they are, and some other tips too, because there's some other things that you can enable and try to possibly make things handle a little bit better than what they have out of the box too. They talk about integrated yaw. Betaflight 4.0 and above was a big improvement as far as how they handled whoops. So, when you talk about integrated yaw, there's some history behind that too that you may want to look up under GitHub, and Oscar Lang puts out some good articles on integrated yaw works with absolute control. Absolute control has been part of, it's been a feature in Betaflight since pre-4.0. It's been in there a while. A few friends of mine are using it. Jerome Platinum has been using absolute control. I think he said it's from like 3.5. I started using it after 4.0 right in there, because that's where, when I was really tuning and trying to get things really dialed in, I started reading about absolute control and integrated yaw. And you do tune differently once you start using these tools, but they are really nice. I like how they work. And they even mention it in this Project Mockingbird. Try yaw, your integrated yaw for more yaw authority. I like how it handles the yaw better than just standard tuning. So with that said, let's get back to PIDs. Basically what you do with integrated yaw and absolute control, I put that a factor of 10. It's a pretty standard setting for absolute control. If you look at GitHub articles, that's where they tell you to start. Start with a value of 10. Integrated yaw is just a switch. Once you're using integrated yaw, it acts as an I-term. So you need to turn down your integral values and start with, I believe they said 25% less of where you would normally. And it came with, I think they were in the 70s. And I started, I bumped back down to about 40, and I went up a little bit from there, 45 and 40. I might go up a little bit on those, but in Acro it really seems to hold well right there with absolute control. And you'll notice I have a 0 in yaw. That's because integrated yaw and absolute control, you don't use any I-term on yaw. Also, your yaw proportional values will be much more sensitive because it's much stronger. There's much more authority on yaw proportional. I started at about 40. Wasn't quite enough. I was getting some nose movement back and forth, especially just flying straight. You get a little bit of that. Went up to 50, helped. 55 really well. So that's as far as I went there. And that's basically my PID tuning. The roll and pitch are they're really close to what they came on this. I think I might have bumped them just a touch, but that's really close. And I put in a derivative of 35 and a D-min of 15. I started at 30, and I went up to about 35, and 15 for D-min has seemed to work really well. So that's where I stayed. And my feed forward, I left all pretty much stock. Other settings to add on that really help with if you're flying in angle mode, which indoors and you're racing is really nice. You turn down the strength because you don't need it to come back up. So if you're pitched forward and you're flying and you let off the stick, you don't need it to come right back up so strong. You know, it can slowly. That's the way I like it, where it's almost like a mix of acro and angle. It is angle mode, but it's relaxed, what I call it. So it's and I bump up my angle limit almost 90 degrees, so I could still pop up and look pretty much straight down and let off the stick, and it'll just slowly come back by itself. But I like how that handles the cornering. Really nice. The corner's awesome. It just whips right around corners and grabs. So I like it at about 40, even a little bit lower than that sometimes. I don't use horizon mode that much, so I just pretty much keep it the same. So that is our, the other thing to mention, I-term relax. I put roll pitch yaw on there too. seems to help with that yaw, because now you have so much authority and I-term on yaw that you need it tamed a little bit, I think, is what that. It seemed to help when I added yaw. It comes just roll pitch, so I put yaw back in there for I-term relax. And I read somewhere there because you can get I-term build up. The more I-term errors it sees, they compound, and you get this like overreaching I-term, and then it's almost fighting your other, like your derivative and other parts of the PID loop. So let's see. Now the real magic with our Mockingbird Rates. This is it right here.
Trim center.
Actually, I think I hit my trim button because my yaw trim was out there a little bit. That's much better. So, rate profile 1. What I really wanted to show you guys was the main part of this video is so when you're changing your flight modes, it also changes your rate profiles with your switch, because that's what you really need. When I'm setting it default is going to be angle mode on the top, so that I want to be my Mockingbird settings. If I switch it down in the middle, that's going to be horizon mode. Horizon is the same as your Acro. It does not use Mockingbird settings. Horizon and Acro use the same settings. Angle uses Mockingbird. Mockingbird is an angle only type of system. So my rate profile 1, these are Project Mockingbird rates. And if you look back on an article, they show some of those rate settings and why they are. This would be more, this is an example of using integrated yaw with your PIDs, but these are really strong values. And rates, here we go. Here would be more of an Acro rate example, really fast Acro rate there too, like that'd be a freestyle. Same thing with that one. Horizon, see, Horizon and Acro are the same. But when you get to angle, look at this. This is the interesting stuff. You have no RC rate and no super rate. That's turned down as far as it'll go. RC rate and super rate for pitch and roll, but you have a lot of RC rate for yaw. So you have that yaw authority. That's one thing with whoops, is the yaw is probably the most difficult thing to get tuned down really well and for it to fly really well, because it's a tough axis. So you'll see on mine, for angle mode, it was a little high for me. I just left it too flat. And I put a little bit of expo in there. These are Mockingbird rates. They fly amazing. I zero out throttle mid, and I put just a touch of throttle expo. Everything else I left the same. Filters, everything else. But what you'll notice now, when you switch into profile 2, now we have Acro rates. Not near as fast as what they had on that page. This is with the Acro rates I like to run. Same thing on yaw. Yaw is pretty but there's a little bit of super rate. And then my RC rate and super rate, that's really close to what I actually run on big quads too. And same thing with 2 and 3 are going to be the same, because those are Horizon and Acro. Profile 1. So how did we set that up? Let's look over here. I told you I had 4 aux channels set up, ARM, modes on 2, 3 is some toys, and 4 is some toys. So you'll notice aux 2, default is angle, middle's horizon. I've got heads free, just ignore that. I was messing around with heads free on Acro on aux 3. Fun LOS, doesn't matter where the nose is pointed, it's just a LOS flying thing. You can really fly around easy. You'll see air mode I have on aux 2 on the bottom, because that's Acro. That's where my Acro is. And then I have turtle mode and some launch control in there on aux 4. But those are really the ones, aux 2, so you got angle, top position, and horizon in the middle, Acro in the bottom. Now to make your rates change with that, that's where you go in the Adjustments tab. In Adjustments, you set Enable. Aux2 is my mode switch. Remember, angle, horizon, acro. Just set it the whole range. And so what that does is now, that's my arm switch, it'll change there because I have rate profile selection over here on Aux2. That'll put it in rate mode 2. That'll put it in rate mode 3. I don't know if it actually shows it in here. Yep, see, rate mode 2, rate mode 3. Back up to rate mode. So when we're in angle, it's going to automatically change. Automatically picks those up. Rate profile 1. That's it, really. So whatever you have set as your mode switch, set that as your rate profile selection switch, aux2, and just put it the whole range. That'll work out. So whenever you're moving that switch, it's going to change your rate profile. And it's nice to have, I guess we'll do that. It's nice to have in your OSD, I put my rate profile down the very bottom in the middle of the screen so I can make sure that it changed. And the rest of that, I have some TAM, my flight, RSSI, the rest of that good stuff. And that's really about it. That's the setup there, guys. I should unplug it. She's getting warm. Let's disconnect. That's it on the Pro. You want to see the Mockingbird edition real fast? So if we change,
Throttle warning.
now we're on the BeeBrain Lite. Compare those settings. Throw away. Fall. We have a race this weekend coming up. This Saturday. Tiny whoop race. Be sitting up Friday night. I like to plug it in first, USB, because this is the one that you have to have a light bulb plugged into. See that you don't get anything on USB. There it goes. Wasn't pushed in all the way there. So same thing on ports. Configuration, you'll notice it has props out. But everything else is the same. A little bit higher idle rate on this. I might turn that down. This has a barometer on it, kind of neat. The Mockingbird edition came with a barometer. Same thing, 180. Everything else is the same. Power. Yeah, see, I have this one at 3.5. I'm going to bump it up to 300.
Telemetry lost. Telemetry recovered.
Failsafe looks good. PID tuning. So I had this one just a little bit higher on the integral. So I might turn the other one up, but yaw looks the same. Everything else, I might put a little bit more. 75 is quite a bit. So I don't have smart feed forward enabled on this. I might try the difference there. But you'll notice rate profiles. So if I switch, yep, 2 and 3. Our Acro settings and Mockingbird on 1. Let's make sure that receiver looks happy. Yeah, this one, the yaw is a little off too. See, so in my little model here, watching it. Check my endpoints. Yeah, endpoints are good. Perfect. Endpoints are perfect. So now you gotta just check trim. It looks like yaw's moving just a touch. Let's go to profile 2. Yeah.
Trim center.
Huh. Yeah, we were trimmed to the right a bit. So I probably hit the button there. It's good to check that every now and then because sometimes you hit those trim buttons. You hear that it hit trim center because I was trimmed to the right once on my yaw and it was, now that looks perfect. We're back to rate profile 1. Okay. aux 1 and aux 2 is my switches. Air mode on 3, or on the third last position of aux 2. There we go. And OSD. Very good. That's it there, guys. It's actually pretty simple to set up as long as you know the tuning and everything of what actually Mockingbird settings do. They're rate settings for angle mode, and they are. It may sound just like something not a big deal, but go try it. I mean, it's pretty wild. It's pretty fun, guys. So, and these NewBeeDrone tiny whoops, fantastic. They are amazing. They're wild, and I want to get the brushless. I know if you guys running the brushless NewBeeDrones, but they've been everybody's buying them, so they've been back ordered and tough to get a hold of them. So even the brushless the brushed are getting back ordered too, like the Mockingbird and the Pro. They're tough to get a hold of some of those too. NewBeeDrone makes some really good products. I love them. So, yep. Thank you, Quadfellas and Jesse, for helping me out too. And Jesse was one of the ones that actually turned me on to Project Mockingbird and NewBeeDrone, because I've been flying tiny whoops last winter and last summer, and spending a lot of time tuning. But Betaflight has also improved a lot as well, as I mentioned earlier. So a lot of fun, guys, and these gold packs. Try out the Nitro Nectar 300 mAh gold packs are amazing. They're fantastic. So thanks, guys, and wish me luck this weekend at the races. Tiny whoop racing is going to be awesome. Thank you.